Can I tell you something that completely changed the way I think about conversations? For years, I believed people enjoyed talking to confident speakers. You know, the people who always had the perfect words, the funniest stories, and the smartest answers. So every time I met someone new, I felt like I had to perform. I searched for interesting things to say before they even spoke. I replayed conversations in my head while they were still happening. And the strange part? The harder I tried to sound interesting, the less natural I became. Then, one ordinary afternoon, something happened in a grocery store that quietly destroyed everything I believed about communication. A conversation lasting less than 90 seconds taught me more about connecting with people than years of trying to sound impressive. If you've ever worried about saying the wrong thing in English, stay with us, because what happened next surprised me, too.
I know exactly what you mean, because something similar happened to me in a bookstore. I wasn't looking for a conversation. I was looking for a notebook. That's it. I was standing in front of a shelf comparing two notebooks that looked exactly the same when another customer walked over, picked one up, smiled, and said, "If you're wondering, I bought this one last month. The paper is actually really good." That was it. No dramatic introduction. No clever joke. Just a simple sentence that felt helpful. I laughed and said, "Well, that just saved me 10 minutes." We both smiled. Then instead of walking away, we spent the next few minutes talking about journals, reading habits, and why we always convince ourselves we'll finally become organized on Monday. I walked into the store, planning to buy a notebook. I walked out remembering a conversation.
Isn't that interesting? They didn't try to impress you. They didn't tell an incredible story. They simply noticed what you were experiencing and joined the moment. I think that's where so many of us get communication backwards. We focus on ourselves. Am I speaking correctly? Do I sound confident? Am I interesting enough? Meanwhile, the people we enjoy talking to are usually doing the opposite. They're paying attention. They're curious. They notice little things other people ignore. Instead of asking, "How can I sound smarter?" they quietly ask, "How can I make this person feel comfortable?" And somehow, that changes everything.
A few days later, I decided to test that idea. I stopped trying to prepare impressive conversations and made one tiny change. I became curious first. At a cafe, instead of staring at my phone while waiting for my coffee, I noticed the man beside me smiling at the giant slice of chocolate cake in the display. I laughed and said, "You're trying really hard not to order that, aren't you?" He looked at me, burst into laughter, and replied, "I've been arguing with myself for 5 minutes." Suddenly, we were talking about desserts, birthdays, and how diets always seem to begin tomorrow instead of today. None of it was planned. None of it was perfect English. But every sentence felt real because it grew from something happening right in front of us.
That's the secret nobody tells you. Great conversations don't begin with great sentences. They begin with great attention. Look around. Someone is carrying flowers. Someone just dropped their keys. Someone is smiling at a dog walking past. Everyday life is constantly giving us little opportunities to connect, but we're usually too busy rehearsing our next sentence to notice them. The moment you become more interested in the other person than in your own mistakes, something incredible happens. You stop sounding rehearsed and you start sounding human.
Later that evening, I met a friend for dinner and decided not to tell funny stories or talk about myself first. Instead, I simply asked, "What was the best part of your day?" They stopped for a second, smiled, and said, "Nobody's asked me that in a long time." The conversation that followed lasted over an hour. We laughed, shared embarrassing moments, talked about childhood memories, and somehow never ran out of things to say. On the way home, I realized something so simple that I almost laughed at myself. People don't always remember the most interesting person in the room. They remember the person who made them feel interesting.
So tomorrow, don't challenge yourself to use difficult vocabulary. Don't try to sound perfect. Instead, notice one little detail about the world around you. Be curious. Ask one genuine question. Listen without planning your next sentence. Smile before you speak. You'll probably discover what I did that afternoon in the grocery store. Confidence isn't what makes people enjoy talking to you. Connection does. And connection begins the moment you stop trying to impress people and start trying to understand them.
People rarely fall in love with perfect words. They remember the person who made them feel seen.